What do we got next? Oh, Pamela Anderson again. Gosh, where's that coming from? Pamela Anderson has a tendency to start a series that only lasts one season. What's that about? This is a weird one. This is Stripperella. It is an animated show starring Pamela Anderson, who plays a crime-fighting stripper. And this was produced, written, and drawn by Stan Lee. Like I said, it's a weird one. It's kind of funny. It's very, very corny. Like, incredibly corny. Like, the kind of corny where you just almost groan. But, I mean, it's interesting. It was an interesting experiment, to say the least. And this aired on Spike. This could have been something really neat. The idea of making an adult-themed animated show is something that people have done before. You know, I mean, there's a lot of them out now. But one that's about a superhero that's actually being drawn by Stan Lee, that's a neat idea. I wish that it had lasted. Not necessarily for this show, but for the idea of what other shows could have been. Because this one was just, I mean, it was okay. But, I mean, it's Pamela Anderson as a stripper crime fighter. I'm not sure how that worked out. What else we got? Pan Am. Pan Am was a great show. Pan Am should not have been canceled. This is one that I was actually... The next four we're gonna talk about, I'm very, very upset that the shows were canceled. Pan Am, this was a fantastic show with a neat premise. It was about Pan Am waitresses and flight attendants, flight stewards. In the 60s, Christina Ricci starred. I mean, that's almost all you have to say. I mean, it's just really great. There's spy work in it, there's romance affairs, there's love triangles, there's drama, there's a lot of real life events based all around it, there's good action, there was great mystery, there was everything that you could want in a show. This was all just thrown together, and it worked because it was the idea of flight attendants. So they went all over the world, you know. The season ended. The last episode they showed was actually the assassination of JFK, and that was going to start a big story because Christina Ricci's character was obsessed with JFK. It was going to start a really big story. I could feel them moving towards it, but it got canceled. It wasn't doing as well in the ratings, even though everybody loved it, and that is another reason why ratings are stupid. Sorry. Yeah. Alright. Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip. This is one of the worst cancellations in the history of television. And I say that genuinely. One of. I don't even know what I could say about this show. Everything about it was perfect, pretty much. It was written by Aaron Sorkin, who is a master of dialogue and directing. And, you know, Aaron Sorkin was cursed. You know, his first two shows did not pan out, and then he finally got one to stay on the air for quite a while. And that was West Wing, which we'll talk about later. But he had Sports Night, and then he had this. He likes to do behind the scenes. He likes to do shows about behind the scenes of something. The first one was Sports Night, which was about behind the scenes, basically like an ESPN type show. And then he did this one, which was behind the scenes of a late night sketch comedy show. Kind of like SNL, but it wasn't SNL because they actually mentioned SNL in the show. This was different. This one was set in LA. It had a great cast. It had beautiful writing. It had good characters. It had intricate characters. It had characters that actually had depth to them. Even the side characters had depth to them. And the only reason why it was canceled was because this was on NBC, and the same year that this aired, they started another show that you may have heard of called 30 Rock. Now, I hate 30 Rock. 30 Rock is a comedy version of this. This was an hour-long show. 30 Rock was a 30-minute show. 30 Rock was pure comedy. This was a sitcom. Actually, more of a drama, really. I would say this was more of a drama than anything, because it wasn't about the show itself. It was about the characters. 30 Rock did fantastic in the ratings, so they dropped this, which was stupid. This show had potential to go on for a long time. It had potential for a lot of really interesting developments. It had a lot of good things in it. I mean, God, you can just look at the cast. I mean, Bradley Whitford, D.L. Hewley, Matthew Perry, Amanda Peet, Sarah Paulson, and just really standout actors and actresses. Still upset that this show got canceled. Moonlight. This is an interesting one. Not a lot of people really know what this one is. Alex O'Loughlin starred in this, and this was before Hawaii Five-0. A lot of people didn't know who he was, and he played a vampire. This was a very different take on vampires. It's one of the reasons why I liked it so much. It changed a lot of the vampire lore around, but not in a bad way. They were trying to make it so that they could actually have a show about vampires and be able to air it without having to worry about a lot of this stuff. You know, they didn't go a True Blood route or anything. Vampires could exist among normal people. They were still secret. They were not out like in True Blood. But they could technically be out in the sun. Although it weakened them greatly, they couldn't be out for very long. They still had to survive on blood. But Alex O'Loughlin plays a vampire who's probably, I think he's like 150 years old, something like that. And he's a private detective. He becomes friends with a reporter. She eventually finds out what he is. You know, interesting things happen, drama, love, blah, 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 blah. There was a whole thing with a cure floating around throughout the whole season, which they never fully got around to try to really talk about that because the series ended. The ratings were very strong at first, but they fell off they started falling off about halfway through the season. It just couldn't seem to maintain. It's a very good show, but it just couldn't seem to maintain its strength throughout the run. So, but I do highly recommend this. If you like vampires, then you should try to pick it up or find it somewhere to watch just to see what they did with the lore of the vampires. It's different, but it's good. And finally, Firefly. I don't even need to say anything. Firefly. Rupert Murdoch, fuck you. Now, why did these shows get canceled? Because the people who run networks are poopy heads who don't know shit, according to my brother. But these shows were all canceled after one season. They shouldn't have been. Well, some of these maybe should have been, but a lot of them should have kept going, because you got to give shows more than one season in order for it to find its footing. A lot of shows can't do that in one season. Firefly was an exception. Firefly found its footing. Fox screwed this show over. That's all there was to it. Now something that you might notice, a lot of these shows are either Fox, because Fox has a tendency to cancel stuff before its prime, and NBC. NBC is really bad about that. Studio 60 was NBC. Pan Am was NBC. Birds of Prey was NBC. Moonlight was Fox. Stacked was, actually, I don't even remember what Stacked was on. I don't even remember what channel Stacked was on. I think it might have been Fox as well. NBC and Fox are terrible at it. That's why I have so much trouble watching any show that is on NBC or Fox, because I'm like, well, I can't like it. It's going to be canceled soon. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up real quick. Next, we're going to be talking. Next video I'm going to do is on complete series, and that is series not just that we have every season of, but series that have ended, and we literally have the complete series. That one might be a two-parter because we've got a good amount of them. So stay tuned for that, and thanks for watching.